Tension thickened on Capitol Hill like a rising storm as Jasmine Crockett delivered a searing political strike. She directly accused Donald Trump of being entangled in a web of corruption, pointing to billion-dollar dealings with the UAE and controversial arms agreements. Across from her stood Marco Rubio, composed and confident, his expression calm and unwavering. He held his ground like a seasoned debater, poised to transform the congressional hearing into a battle of ideologies. This confrontation between two strong political forces wasn't a mere exchange of words. It had the potential to shake the foundation of American politics. Before we dive deeper into this high-stakes story, let us know where you're watching from, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a major political moment. The chandelier lights shimmered across the polished oak benches in the hearing room. The air hung thick, charged with anticipation. Crockett drew a steady breath, her voice piercing the silence like a blade. "Mr. Secretary Rubio," she started, her tone clear and assertive. "We're looking at a major ethical concern. President Trump, who still holds ownership in the Trump Organization, just announced a massive Trump Tower project in Dubai. The very next day, his crypto firm, World Liberty Financial, finalized a $2 billion agreement with a UAE-linked company. And just 11 days later, your State Department bypassed a committee block to approve over $1 billion in weapons sales to the UAE. Is this coincidence, or a glaring conflict of interest?" The room stirred with whispers. A Democrat nearby gave a subtle nod of agreement. A reporter leaned forward, pen in hand, waiting eagerly for Rubio's response. But Crockett pressed on, lifting a printed page from World Liberty Financial's site. Her voice rose. "This document shows clearly. President Trump and his family own 60% of the company. He's not a distant figurehead. He stands to directly benefit from these transactions. Meanwhile, your department moves ahead with arms sales to a government that continues to raise serious human rights concerns, especially regarding Sudan. Mr. Rubio, how can we believe these actions aren't driven by personal profit over national interest?" Her eyes stayed locked on Rubio, daring him to dodge the issue. Crockett knew she had landed a solid hit. Fellow Democrats, like Representative Meeks, watched intently, their anticipation visible. She felt the adrenaline surge through her veins, heart pounding with the weight of preparation. She had studied Trump's dealings thoroughly, from flashy Dubai ventures to discreet lines of corporate fine print. She expected her line of questioning would corner Rubio, forcing him to address an uncomfortable truth: that personal gain was taking priority over country. Rubio remained composed. With a slight tilt of his head, he appeared to analyze Crockett's words carefully. He allowed a silence to grow, first 1 second, then 2, only adding to the dramatic weight in the room. Behind him, an aide shifted nervously. Yet Rubio looked calm, tapping his fingers softly on the desk, eyes gleaming like a warrior about to strike. The room shifted. A storm was building. Crockett didn't hold back. Her voice came sharp and direct. "Mr. Rubio, this isn't about foreign relations. This is about basic ethics. A sitting president whose companies are earning billions from a government, then approving weapons sales to that same regime? Can you not see the implications? Can't you see how this shatters public trust?" She paused, letting her words settle over the crowd. Her eyes scanned the room, seeking silent support. A CNN journalist in the corner scribbled rapidly, sensing a breakout headline. Crockett stood firm, convinced she had placed Rubio in a no-win scenario. She imagined the next day's news. Democrat lawmaker confronts Secretary of State over Trump's ethical violations. Rubio, however, remained calm, hands clasped together. His gaze moved across the room like a chess master studying the board. The chandelier's glow framed a faint smirk on his lips. The entire hearing room, lawmakers, journalists, held their breath, anticipating his counter. The aide beside him leaned forward with concern, but Rubio was unmoved. He exhaled, and spoke in a low, deliberate voice, words cutting like a well-crafted blade. "Congresswoman Crockett," he said, "I recognize your desire to create a compelling narrative. But let me clarify. U.S. foreign policy isn't shaped by speculation or political storytelling. Our relationship with the UAE is rooted in national strategy, strengthened by efforts like the Abraham Accords, an achievement that has promoted peace in the Middle East. You're trying to reshape policy decisions into personal scandals, but that's simply not accurate." The room murmured again. A few Republican lawmakers nodded, visibly pleased. Crockett frowned, her grip tightening on the stack of papers. She hadn't anticipated such a pivot. Rubio had dodged the ethics question and fallen back on diplomacy. But she wasn't giving up. "Mr. Secretary," Crockett cut in, voice raised, "I'm not asking about peace accords. I'm asking about the president holding major interests in companies working with the UAE while simultaneously approving arms deals. This is an ethical issue. Will you answer that question?" Rubio's eyes glinted coldly. He waited a beat, then leaned forward, tone tinged with sarcasm. "Congresswoman, painting every foreign policy move as a conspiracy isn't helpful. Every U.S. president, regardless of party, must engage with nations like the UAE, their strategic allies, in multiple sectors. Whether or not the president's family has business ventures overseas has no bearing on our policy, unless you have direct evidence that he made these decisions based on personal gain. This is all conjecture." Heat flushed through Crockett. She expected evasion, but the smoothness of Rubio's reply caught her off guard. She flipped to another page and raised another document from World Liberty Financial's website. "This is direct," she insisted. "It states that the Trump family controls 60% of the company. That company signed a billion-dollar deal with a UAE-linked firm. And within days, the State Department approved arms sales. That's not a coincidence. The American people deserve clarity." Rubio gave a faint smile. A nearby Republican chuckled. He tapped his fingers again, almost rhythmically. "Congresswoman," he replied, tone now openly mocking, "I understand your urge to craft headlines. But let's remember, the president's family is allowed to operate businesses globally. They don't need congressional permission. What you've presented is a public disclosure of ownership, nothing more. Trying to link that to foreign policy is a stretch unsupported by real facts." The room buzzed louder. A Fox News journalist scribbled intensely, sensing a breakout moment. Crockett could feel the pressure now. She fought to steady her voice, but her confidence began to slip. "Mr. Rubio," she pushed, voice laced with frustration, "you're still not answering. This isn't about whether the Trump family can do business. It's about the ethics of a president profiting from foreign entities while deciding on deals like arms sales. Don't you see that as a conflict of interest?" Rubio leaned in, eyes fixed on her like he was peering through her motives. "Congresswoman Crockett," he said, voice firmer now, "I won't answer questions based on assumptions. U.S. foreign policy is shaped by what serves our national interest. The UAE is a key partner. The Abraham Accords changed the region. Weapons sales are part of our broader strategy. If you have actual evidence of wrongdoing, bring it forward. Otherwise, let's focus on what truly matters." Applause erupted briefly from Republican seats. Crockett froze for a moment, her mouth half open. The room still buzzed with energy from the recently concluded showdown. The cheers from the Republican side began to fade, yet the atmosphere remained electric. Reporters were scribbling furiously, cameras still trained on the podium to capture what had become a defining moment. A few Democratic Congress members murmured among themselves, concern evident in their expressions, while their Republican counterparts exchanged nods of approval. Marco Rubio stepped away from the podium with composed strides. An aide approached, from the side, gently patting his shoulder. "You nailed it, Marco," he whispered. Rubio offered a slight smile, his gaze sweeping across the room as if confirming his dominance. Relief washed over him. Not only had he successfully defended President Trump, but he had also strengthened his position within the Republican ranks. A GOP lawmaker in the front row reached out to shake his hand, his eyes gleaming. "You schooled them," he said under his breath, his tone charged with excitement. Rubio nodded silently. Deep inside, he knew this moment marked a crucial milestone in his political career. On the other hand, Jasmine Crockett sat quietly, trying to hide her frustration. She sighed softly, flipping through her papers, searching for a way to reclaim her ground. Congressman Meeks, seated nearby, leaned over and reassured her. "You did good, Jasmine. We keep pushing forward." But she knew the reality. Rubio had outplayed her. The confidence she'd entered the hearing with had dimmed under Rubio's precise and polished delivery. Anger and helplessness simmered inside her, but she held it back, careful not to let emotions show under the scrutiny of media cameras. Crockett rose and stepped into the hallway, where reporters had already gathered. A CNN correspondent pushed a microphone toward her. "Congresswoman Crockett, how do you respond to Secretary Rubio's remarks today?" Taking a deep breath, she offered a composed smile. "I believe the American people will draw their own conclusions," she said, voice steady, though tension lingered. "My questions were about transparency, and I intend to keep seeking the truth." As she turned away, her weary eyes betrayed the toll of the exchange, though questions continued. To rein from the press, Crockett walked on, leaving a crowd deep in discussion. Back in the hearing room, Rubio remained the center of attention. A circle of Republican congressmen surrounded him, laughing and chatting with enthusiasm. A senior senator clapped him on the back. "You crushed it, Marco. Trump will be proud." Rubio nodded, his expression composed but content. He recognized this wasn't merely a personal win, it was a stepping stone in his political trajectory. A Fox News reporter captured the moment, eyes lighting up at what promised to be headline material. Across the room, a small group of Democratic lawmakers quietly discussed what had just occurred. A younger congressman shook his head. "Jasmine did her best, but Rubio's too experienced," he said. Another added, "We need stronger evidence. Rubio knows how to control the narrative." Their eyes drifted to the door Crockett had exited, filled with concern and solidarity. They understood this moment would dominate media cycles, and they'd need to regroup fast. Meanwhile, outside in the hallway, a Newsmax reporter began a live broadcast. Marco Rubio just delivered a powerhouse performance, completely overshadowing Congresswoman Crockett. She tried to pin a scandal on Trump, but Rubio made it clear her case lacked substance. The clip circulated quickly, stirring online debate, far beyond Capitol Hill. Rubio exited the room flanked by aides. One leaned in and whispered, "Today was a major win." Rubio nodded, already thinking ahead. This victory wasn't just about defending Trump, it was about shaping his image as a formidable leader. Inside, he felt the spark of ambition flare. Again, a step closer to a potential 2028 presidential run. Outside, the political media world ignited. TV screens nationwide lit up with breaking headlines. Fox News aired a jubilant segment. "Secretary Rubio silences Democratic accusations." Clips of Rubio's confident rebuttals looped on screen. Meanwhile, MSNBC painted a contrasting picture, with a somber analyst defending Crockett's efforts. She raised important ethical questions, but Rubio danced around them. Social media lit up. A Trump supporter posted a clip of Rubio's sharp response, captioned, "Rubio shuts down the Dems. Crockett never stood a chance." It went viral, instantly filled with mocking comments. On the opposite side, Crockett's supporters rallied. "She raised real concerns. This is about ethics, not politics," one user posted. The Washington Post offered a deeper take, a battle of intellects. over ethics and policy. It praised Rubio's eloquence, but questioned whether he had addressed Crockett's concerns or merely sidestepped them. Breitbart, however, was more blunt. Rubio demolishes Democratic Congresswoman in a historic exchange. A freelance reporter uploaded a YouTube summary. Crockett came in strong, but Rubio dismantled her with confidence. In the hearing room, discussions continued. A Florida congressman, an ally of Rubio, laughed while rewatching the exchange on his phone. "Marco just showed them who's boss," he said. Meanwhile, an aide to Meeks leaned toward a colleague. "Jasmine was right to ask, but she needs stronger evidence." The divide was palpable. Each person seemed to carry their own truth. TV pundits dissected every second of the hearing. On CNN, an analyst acknowledged Crockett's valid concerns, but conceded that Rubio was too skilled at framing the debate. Over on Newsmax, a commentator chuckled, "She picked the wrong opponent." Clips of the exchange flooded TikTok, often set to dramatic music. Users edited segments to highlight Rubio's dismissive tone or Crockett's persistence. The Capitol Hill confrontation had spilled onto every platform, sparking fierce public debate. A user named MAGA Forever posted a video of Rubio shutting down Crockett's questions. Caption: "Rubio just schooled the Democrats." It spread fast, drawing comments like "legend" and "Crockett got wrecked." On the other side, a progressive supporter tweeted, "Jasmine stood her ground." This was about accountability, not games. Reddit threads exploded with discussion. One user wrote, "Crockett had a point, but Rubio outmaneuvered her. She needs better evidence." A meme of Rubio in a boxing ring with the caption "Round 1 knockout" went viral among conservatives. Though the storm eventually calmed, its impact echoed. Outside the Capitol, Rubio stood under the fading sun, reflecting. Today wasn't just a defense of Trump, it was a bold step toward his own future. As he entered a waiting vehicle, hands in his pockets, he smiled faintly, knowing this day would be remembered. In her office, Jasmine Crockett sat at her desk, documents piled high under a soft lamp. Despite the setback, her resolve remained. She scribbled notes for the next hearing, eyes still burning with determination. Encouraging messages poured in from colleagues and supporters. "You did the right thing," read one. She nodded slightly. Today was just one chapter. There would be more. The Rubio-Crockett exchange wasn't just political theater. It symbolized America's growing divide. Her probing of Trump's private interests, while dismissed by Rubio, sparked lasting debate. Deals like Trump Tower Dubai and cryptocurrency contracts became subjects of intense public scrutiny. Republicans hailed Rubio as a defender of the national interest. Democrats viewed Crockett as a bold truth seeker. Beneath a tree outside the Capitol, a young journalist finished typing. The Rubio-Crockett clash, a duel of minds that shaped the political narrative. Though Rubio had emerged victorious, the ethical questions Crockett raised refused to fade. In Texas, supporters chanted, "Jasmine won't back down." In D.C., signs read, "Rubio is our champion." This debate wasn't just about Trump. It reflected the sharp polarization of American politics. Rubio's deflection of conflict of interest accusations showed political mastery, while Crockett's boldness represented a growing demand for transparency. The takeaway: debate should be grounded in facts, not emotions. Ask bold questions like, "Crockett," but come prepared with hard evidence. Navigate discussions like Rubio, but don't dodge accountability. In today's divided world, Americans must learn to listen, reason, and debate not for performance, but for truth. Subscribe for more fiery political showdowns like Rubio versus Crockett. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next story.